In this video, we're going to look step by step, page by page at the FIT Presenter Speechwriting Kit. As you can see, FIT stands for Filter, Instruct, and Transfer. First, you filter your audience's background knowledge from any misconceptions they have. And everybody has misconceptions about fitness. You do, even I do. I just don't know what they are. Then you instruct, just like any speaker would. There's a right and wrong way to do it. It's all inside this kit. And then finally you transfer the lesson. Give them something to remember so that they can reteach to everybody they meet. That's how the ideas get preserved, and that's how you get promoted. 4 different sections. The most important thing you need to have as an inventory is your different stories. Every speaker must have a stockpile of stories. Some of them will be fitness related, and some of them should not be. This way you can speak to audiences outside the fitness world once you get more comfortable. Also, you need to get a better inventory of yourself and what kind of presence you have in front of your audience. You also need to know your audience. No two groups are the same. And then we talked about misconceptions. We're going to outline your misconceptions and your audience and their likely misconceptions. In your stories section, we need to identify the story elements. The who, what, when, and where. When and where is your setting, your who is your characters, and the what is the plot. And of course, that plot, we need to focus on conflict. The plot in itself doesn't tell a story, that's a circumstance. The conflict and the resolution is the reason why we tell the story. It's fun to tell stories about being a hero. You can be the hero sometimes. Let's start there because it's fun. You need to overcome some kind of obstacle. And not only does there have to be an obstacle in the beginning, but you need to find another setback. Something has to go wrong, or else it's a pretty boring story. Well, I ran a marathon, and it was hard, and I finished. The end. Okay, you'll notice in this box, there's not a whole lot of space. So put some ideas, but you need to fill up a notebook with the meat of your story. All right, big shot. You succeeded. You're the champion. You're the winner. Now, humble yourself. You need to tell a story when you failed and learned. If your audience is successful all the time, they wouldn't be in front of you. They are lacking something. They are missing something. It is your responsibility to help them fill that void by showing them that you've been there, that you are at their level. You are not above your audience. Let me read this word for word because it's fun. Let us forgive those who trespass against us. But first, let's tell a story and get some payback. In my I Got You Back story, that bank manager, she was a mean, nasty Grinch. But I got her back. And I'm nobody's bum. You can look at any story before you put your own story in here. Look at other stories. Of course, I recommend my I Got You Back story, but there are others. Everywhere, somebody's a victim they overcome, real life or in fiction. Once you identify these elements, then it's your turn. Tell me your story. Go deep. And then the story of the sage. And again, I'll read straight from the text here. You can be the hero of your own story, but you cannot be the guru. I've seen this mistake made. I've made the mistake too, but not on stage. I've made the mistake in writing my speech, but don't worry, I fixed it. There was another guru who taught me that. Here are some tips for editing. Editing is just as important as writing. The difference between writing and editing is that editing takes longer. Your credentials. In the fitness industry, people love to talk about how cool they are, how strong they are, how educated they are, and nobody cares until you establish connection with them. Establish the connection first, then you can start peppering in your credentials. I like to break my credentials down in 3 different sections. And the beginning is just an orientation. But the real meat of your credentials is in the question and answer. Once they demonstrate an interest in you, then you can respond with, hey, let me tell you the time I won a district championship in the one-legged javelin. I just made that up. The first time I taught a class, I was barely 30 years old. I felt like a child in front of this adult ed course. People had raised families, people were working in careers for decades. But now that I'm in my mid-40s, I have a much different presence on stage. I have to take different precautions to make sure the audience doesn't feel intimidated by my greatness. Here's my age. In the beginning, I was 30 years old, teaching people in their 40s. Now I'm 44 years old, teaching people in their teens. Your relationship is based on your presence on stage. You also have a niche, something specific that makes you unique. There's always somebody else with more education, credentials, but there's something you know that others don't. And the thing that gives you more credibility than anything else is knowing what you don't know. That's modesty, and your audience likes that. Speaking of audiences, here are 4 different categories. Once you know the audience, then you have a better idea of what the benefit is to your audience. Take some time, write this out, and you want an action step. At the end of this talk, this presentation, this speech, this workshop, the audience will put up the stop sign, fill this box. I don't mean with a few words and big letters. I'm talking about fill this box. Make a long list and then subtract from it. This page is the reason why your audience is there. They're not there for your credentials. They're not there for your stories. They're in the audience for the benefit. Now that we've talked about what your audience will do after the speech, let's look at the road to get there. What will the audience do during the speech? If a tree falls in the woods, you know the riddle. Well, if you give a speech and the audience doesn't care, did you really give a speech? You need to prepare for the reactions and provoke them. Anticipate. This page is very important. I'll tell you, there are times when I speak and I do not get the reaction that I expected. And that creates a brand new speech. If you want to continue on with Fit Presenter, you need to demonstrate modesty. Accept the fact that you don't know everything. And boast the fact that you know more than you used to. Put at least one misconception that you have had. For me, that's very difficult because I've had many misconceptions. Once you have humbled yourself to show off your biggest misconceptions and how you discovered a difference by working in the industry, working with clients and with athletes, now you can address their misconceptions. You already know what they are before they show them off. You need to have a list ready so that when they present them, you're not surprised. This is for you to read on your own. And welcome to Fit Presenter.